My Lord and my God, I firmly believe that you are here, that you see me, that you hear me. I adore you with profound reverence. I ask your pardon for my sins and the grace to make this time of prayer fruitful. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me. Some years ago I read this book, The Shack, which is a fiction of a guy that has a very tragic event in his family, and because of that he closes the door of his dialogue with God, with you, my Lord. He gets really upset with you, Jesus, and he decides not to talk to you anymore, nor to your Father or the Holy Spirit. And the book is a fiction. Many years later in his life, he receives a note saying something like, it's been a while, we need to talk. Signed, God, your Father. And in the note there is an invitation to spend a weekend with the Blessed Trinity in a shack in the middle of the mountains. At the beginning he thinks that it's a joke, or maybe someone crazy trying to deceive him. But at the end, he goes to the shack and spends a weekend with the Blessed Trinity. The funny thing is that God the Father appears as a cook, spending most of the time in the kitchen, talking peacefully and in a very casual way with the protagonist. I know, maybe you need to break some mental barriers in order to get to that cook image of God, but I think the dialogues are really good, they were really deep. Anyhow, today when I was reading the Gospel, Jesus, and I saw you talking about leaven and saying, watch out of the leaven of the Pharisees, I don't know why, but I thought you are kind of being like a cook. And in the salad, that is my life, I need to put the good ingredients of your presence, of acts of love, of my faith. A life without you is a salad without salt. Is unbearable, disgusting. On the contrary, the more I get to know you, the more I integrate you in my life, or I integrate my life into your plans, better to say, the better, of course. So let me ask you, Jesus, what is this leaven of the Pharisees? What is this thing that I need to avoid? Maybe you're thinking about something that the Pharisees were lacking, and something that can happen to me as well. And I was wondering, my Lord, that maybe you are talking about indifference. The big sin of the Pharisees is that they were only thinking about the law, but they were not loving it. They were not being transformed by the law. It was an external thing for them. And this is something that can happen to me right now. When I pray, when I'm trying to be a good Christian, when I'm following you, I need to put both my intellect and my heart. Otherwise, I will be like a robot, just following commands, but not being myself. Just following you externally doesn't make any sense. So help me. In the Gospel today, you say to the apostles, are your hearts hardened? Is my heart indifferent? Kind of empty regarding my faith, regarding my love for you, Jesus? This is a very important question for my life, for my interior life. Where is my heart? Is it in you, my Lord? Not only in general as a kind of a go-to place, but when I am in a normal day, performing my actions, am I loving them in the present moment? A couple of days ago, I was in spiritual direction with someone, and that person was thinking about dating someone else, and I told him, but do you love her? I was asking, but do you really love her? Are you ready? And then he told me, well, to love is a powerful verb. I don't know if I am ready for that. I like her, but to love, I need to wait a little bit to discover that. And I was really pleased with that answer, because it is true. To love someone is a serious business. It's something that takes the whole person. And I really like to apply this to your relationship with God, to my relationship with God. Do you love me? Says Jesus to Peter. When we use the word love or to love, everything changes. In Les Mis, in this famous musical, and later a movie, there's this song when the girl in love with one of the revolutionary guys is thinking out loud, is singing to him, even if he's not present. And then she says, without him, a river is just a river. But with him, the pavement shines like silver. It's a complete different scenario. Without him, a river is just a river. Without Jesus, salad or life is just boring. Without you, my Lord, my life is in black and white. Once I put you in my heart, once I accept seeing things with your eyes, my life is in high definition, full color. Not because it's a perfect life or there aren't problems or pain. It is because there is love. And love touches everything because it gives meaning to everything I do. That's the point that the Pharisees were lacking. They didn't have a meaningful relationship with God. So maybe right now, Jesus, I want to examine my heart. Am I giving meaning to everything I do? Do I accept doing things mechanically without putting my heart? Do I move around without direction? Am I ready to risk, to put my heart, even if sometimes I know that I will suffer? In the Pharisees and the apostles as well, maybe there were some experiences of loving and being deceived. Loving and then suffering. And as C.S. Lewis points out in one of his books, the real risk of guarding our heart, but in a bad way. And he says, like putting it into a coffin and to close it, to lock it, in order to avoid suffering. And this is not healthy psychologically, and this is not Christian, because it shows that there is a lack of hope. It is so important to risk. Think about it. Jesus, am I a person that risks in my relationships? Do I go forward? Do I enter into the deep waters that I cannot control? Do I accept that sometimes I need to sow and to wait? Am I nervous? Am I anxious about seeing results immediately? Am I scared of being deceived or being despised? Of course, I have my experiences of pain, my past experiences of pain. Every single person suffers, it's part of life. But we cannot give up. I don't want to have this leaven that is small, if you want, but is affecting my whole life and growing inside me and putting me at a distance from others, creating walls of fear, walls of resentment, walls of maybe not trusting others. A follower of Jesus Christ has to be by nature optimistic. And if it is not by nature, at least by virtue, optimistic. Jesus says today, do you not remember when I broke the 5 loaves of bread for the 5,000? Are your hearts hardened? Don't you remember? I can do whatever. I just need your faith. I need you to trust me. And this applies to the crisis in the world and also to my relationships with my coworkers, in my family, with my friends. Pope Francis is very devout of this image of the Blessed Virgin Mary with a knot, with a mess. And she's undoing those knots, she's ironing, kind of putting together and in order the mess of our lives. Maybe we should go more often to this image. Maybe right now, Jesus, I want to think about your mother taking into her beautiful hands, pure hands, the mess of my life, And I want to tell her, can you undo those knots that are blocking me from loving? It could be resentment, it could be past memories of my sins, it could be fear. My mother, can you undo those knots? Can you help me to risk? Can you help me to change my heart, as Jesus is asking me today in the gospel? I'm sure you can. And because of that, I want to put my heart entirely in your hands. And you will help me to open up, to put my heart in whatever I do, and to have a meaningful life. Because I will be touched by the love of God, by your love, my mother, and I will give meaning to every one of my actions. I will give direction, and I will risk loving others as you love me. I thank you, my God, for the good resolutions, affections, and inspirations that you have communicated to me in this meditation. I ask your help to put them into effect. My Immaculate Mother, Saint Joseph, my Father and Lord, my guardian angel, intercede for me.